on our website after today. So if you have anything you forgot, feel free to visit our website and take a look at the recording again. Okay, that's all I have going on here. So I'm going to hand this off to Craig Lau from ABBYY. Craig?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome, and it's our pleasure to speak with you this afternoon, and thanks, Olivia, for your introductions. Again, I'm Craig Lau, Senior Director of Sales for ABBYY Software, and I'll be joined today by Scott Chow, who is a technical support engineer, one of our lead support persons at ABBYY. We're going to talk to you about how your information capture plan comes together with data capture in the form of FlexiCapture, our product ABBYY FlexiCapture, and FlexiCapture for mailrooms. And without further ado, we'll get right into it. But just a few words about who ABBYY as a company is, what we represent in the marketplace. But we are a company about putting action around information. So ours are language-based technologies, and it's also OCR, optical character recognition, as part of that to enhance the data capture experience. Key to this is that we are not a solely optical character recognition company. You may have heard of others that were born out of OCR, and that's really all they do. ABBYY is a linguistics company. We are staffed with linguistic scientists that work in translation from languages, language to language, or in semantic intelligence search, artificial intelligence products. So ABBYY is all about language. One of the things that makes this very real is that it touches exactly where each of you are in your market space, what your industry, what you do on a daily basis. You may be doing within an industry, your responsibility may be about the document processing. It may be about compliance or governance. And it may be that you're in charge of contracts or keeping the assets or accounting within the organization. So we create technologies for all of these specific vertical areas and concerns that are complementary to your specific business and business area. So ours is about accuracy, and accuracy that may use in classification ontologies or may just be around capturing data, recognizing that data, or it could even go so far as redacting data. Of course, that's been in the news a lot lately in the political arena, and ABBYY products also do redaction, blocking out information on documents for personal information protection, PII protection under HIPAA and so forth. But we won't be speaking about healthcare specifically today, but rather all of the areas in which classification and FlexiCapture for mailrooms enhances your data capture. So we often get the question, what is ABBYY? What is the meaning behind ABBYY? And it's from an ancient language. It's actually a phonetical spelling from a language called Miao Yao, an ancient Babylonian language, and it refers to keen eye or great vision. So our founders saw that that was important rather than give it an IT kind of name, but however to best describe what the technology does in the process. So just think of us as a sharp eye on what's being captured. So Abby has been in existence since 1989. We are a very profitable company. We also are a leader in that we supply our technology to even competitors. Our software development kit or engine runs a lot of companies out there that we even compete with. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, those are companies that were born as OCR companies, not necessarily linguistics or translation companies. And we are a company greater than 1,200 employees across 14 offices, and I've highlighted here coming up the key offices where Abby is located. We estimate that Abby utilizes, or that 30 million people utilize our products on an annual basis, and we're shipped with scanners, multifunctional devices, multifunctional peripherals, all-in-one, in the tune of over 12 million a year. So no one else in our industry has that many OEM agreements going out. So I mentioned just some of the key offices of the 14, one of which has opened most recently is in Taiwan, but we are based in the U.S. in Silicon Valley in Milpitas, California, neighbor to a lot of large technical and technological firms that you've dealt with or use our products every day. We've won a great deal of awards at Abby. We're very proud of that. We, year over year, continue to garner many awards. And we're focused on data capture, which will be the key subject for our conversation here today. So we know that paper is paper, and we have a lot of it, and even those of us that work in this industry, looking at my desk right now and thinking, wow, what a lot of paper, right? But we do know that at Abby, as we like to say, we want to take the data and leave the paper, okay? And sometimes that's take the actual electronic document, okay, take the data from it and leave the electronic document as an image somewhere, but we're going to take the data and make it usable. We have products in data capture, flexi capture, that are focused on certain verticals, and one of those is invoice capture, and we've done a lot in the AP invoice capture area where we're capturing fields off of an invoice, and it doesn't matter how many suppliers, how many vendors, but capturing and even line item detail, product SKUs and descriptions, and then putting those into an accounting database or other related databases that make for searchability and processing in a transactional stage. So we also have in many areas where Abby FlexiCapture is processing FlexiCapture for mailrooms that you'll hear about today, and then along with FlexiCapture for invoices, and then supplying the resultant information and images, the data and the images, to back-end systems, whether it be ECM or electronic content management or document management systems, maybe a CRM system, a database, or it might be a BPM or a workflow that you have processing. We work in a lot of different areas, a lot of different vertical markets that are different financial systems and different ERP systems, and amazingly that we're putting the data in an ERP, whether it's a food service delivery organization or a financial, a large bank in the Fortune 100. So there's a lot of versatility to the software, but if you look to the left, you'll see that the point of ingestion that we'll be referring to here during the FlexiCapture for mailrooms explanation really is independent of whatever type of ingestion point that you're utilizing, whether it's fax, cloud, email. We're pointing to the Exchange server, pulling emails in and processing them as an attachment, multifunctionals or scanners. So when I talk to FlexiCapture, it is involved in the automated classifications of incoming documents and can add the mailroom solution to that. And we'll go deeper into that activity. But we're doing transactional data capture, field by field processing, as you saw on the invoice example earlier. We're doing forms processing where there's a specific fixed form, static form, and that could be census forms, could be ballots, questionnaires, tax returns, application forms, could be processing W-2s. If you're familiar with the Intuit SnapTax, that is Abby's product, as Abby, this technology, supplying and allowing you to submit, if you file a 1040-EZ, straight to the IRS. So there's a lot of breadth and depth to what we do. But of course we know, as I mentioned earlier, paper-based forms are really big, but we also allow that export along with searchability in PDFA resultant documents. So your document types may take on any one of these three forms right here. Okay? As I mentioned, the invoices, or you may have fixed forms, questionnaires or surveys, or unstructured forms that are contracts, letters, articles from a newspaper, etc., and processing that way. In invoices, we have the technology that captures the invoice number and the date, the buyer, supplier information as well, the delivery date, purchase order data that can allow for calling to a purchase order database, bringing back verification information there, or processing line items in the description of the items and SKUs, and even to the point of determining if there's a back order that was invoiced but not delivered, and that's where the PO and other database matching takes place. But of course, an invoice process is not truly processed if you don't get the currency right. So the currency can be in any number of languages that Abby supports, over 11 different currency language types. So no matter where you are in the world, we're probably going to be able to process those. So that all being part of Abby FlexiCapture. And FlexiCapture is what we like to call a single entry point, meaning that you're loading all of these different document types, all of these different form types, whether they're surveys, questionnaires, applications, invoices, contracts, purchase orders, manufacturing documents, all into one stack, all into one batch, and process them in the classification that FlexiCapture allows. Now, is that the same as FlexiCapture for mailrooms? No, it is not. That is a precursor to FlexiCapture for mailrooms, where in determined ingestion points, you're going to be able to already provide classification categorization for the proper document sets that you're creating, namely invoices, questionnaires, contracts, as you see here, and then the resultant data exchange and image exchange to your back-end systems. But as we're talking about classification here today, the data extraction is of very high importance in surveys that have been taken, and that's a key part of it. But the fact that in larger organizations and even small to mid-sized businesses, mainly mid-sized, looking at mailroom processing because there are case management systems that need to be processed to, BPM systems, workflows. And so resultantly, 64% of classification is really seen as key to those areas of interest, those areas that invoke a system of providing for case management. So in FlexiCapture, you have a good degree of the processing capability needed, the FlexiCapture from the mailrooms taking over where it's feeding and becoming a key ingestion point, just as the physical mailroom is in any type of business today. So the whole idea behind ABBYY FlexiCapture for mailrooms is really automating the customer communication. And in doing so, we see the mailroom as automating the incoming mail processes. That could be physical mail, postal mail, or as scanning and capture of those physical documents, or the classification of electronic, but most importantly, automating that distribution within the organization, right? So that's the simplest of descriptions and explanations as per Wikipedia. But when it comes down to it, we'll ask you here today, within your organization, is it about your mail, or is it about automating the process that you would like to have as part of your vision? So the pain point is clear. You have a lot of documents, you have a lot of ingestion points, you have a lot of paper, you have a lot of electronic files. How do you get those to become early in the capture process, automating those, classifying, routing, and then getting the transaction within the window of approvals that you have within your company? And how do you do that in achieving a reduction of costs? And then also allowing for transparency of all the different business areas and departments across your organization. And you may even have where you have some analog capabilities that you're trying to take to digital. So how do you put action around that information? Well, our typical mailroom customer, as we know, has hundreds and even thousands of communication pieces that are coming in through that mailroom. And now it needs to be routed to business groups, different departments, the areas, employees that are assigned to that task, or into the business process or BPM that exists for further distribution down the line. Now, there may be the manual distribution, so then you have a bigger problem, as the typical mailroom customer does, because then you have the separation, you have the need to know exactly who to deliver what to. You know, we've all worked in the organization, stuck on the paper, stuck on the envelope delivery, someone pushing a cart around and delivering mail to each office. Well, that's now very archaic, and I'm sure if you're still doing that within your organization, you're feeling that pain in a very high manner, because now it's also becoming reliant on manual data extraction, which we know is the biggest weight on companies today in becoming very productive within their systems. So we see the use cases as the following, and by our experience, that you have the acceleration of the transactions. Routing now helps your customer service out because the transaction has been sped up in such a way, but you have the overall reduction in cost. The routing now, of course, you're able to prioritize what documents really need to get to legal quickly, need to get to the AP department need to get in front of the CFO early on in the process. So that helps prioritize, categorize the documents for that flow. You can also automate further by taking away the separator sheets. With FlexiCapture and FlexiCapture for mailrooms, there's no need to be printing out separator sheets and spending a lot of money on that to put barcodes on them or check boxes, etc. You can use an electronic separator that is within the product. So what does that do for you? It really reduces costs, reduces doc prep costs outside of the normal ones in preparing the document for scanning, but now you're able to even process all types of different purchase orders, purchase requests, etc., so that revenue is gained in a quicker manner. So the industries that we see that are highly involved in the processing through FlexiCapture for mailrooms are mortgage and banking, and being able to do that separation. We find in the banking, the new account opening, being able to classify the documents and categorize them based on, is it a business applicant, is it a personal checking or savings applicant, and then just general mail that is a huge part of financial services, processing that general mail to its destination. In insurance, everything in insurance that is, it's highly transactional always, not much unlike the other two, healthcare and financial services, but you do have the processing of claims. And related to that, you may have the policy information needing to be processed for claims against the policy, and of course in general mail as well. In healthcare, patient records are key. You can prioritize based on the patient ID or the code, the healthcare services code that is going to apply to that certain patient and match that data. So mailrooms, again, very high in quicker processing of the data. So what does that classification look like? It's based on the same type of hierarchies that are applied in a manual process, and really to the point of classification on the type of document as well. It doesn't matter what the document looks like, how it's made up, what the resolution is, the classification. We're processing to put it in the proper category, proper document set, and flow it to its correct destination. So around the expectations from all those ingestion points that we referred to, or I referred to earlier, you have managing that logistically in the mailroom automation is extracting the information from the paper, from an email, from a fax. A fax is a scanner as far as we're concerned, creating a TIFF, and now so that it flows in the workflow or BPM so that you're getting to an augmented customer satisfaction. That could mean and take on many forms. That's responsiveness back to the customer, taking care of a claim or a case that has been brought to your attention, but really upping the competitive nature of your business compared to others that are in your industry. Decision-making is really an intrinsic value and vision as from FlexiCapture for mailrooms. It really allows, because of the prioritization that's involved, for these decisions to be made or approvals to be made, and transactionally for them to get to a signature stage early on in the process. Efficiencies really come back to cost reduction, productivity, and just the accessibility that it allows into the systems that you have invested in today, workflows, BPMs, databases, CRMs, everything that you've set up. This is now enhancing those as repositories and retrieval systems. So the challenge of a mailroom operation, as we see it, slow, costly, and error-prone, probably didn't have to tell you that, and that's why you're attending here today and listening to me and looking forward to seeing the demo of FlexiCapture for mailrooms. But we do know that errors are a big deal. Not only errors in manual data entry, which happen quite often. Most data keying happens in the same way that you and I type. And by that token, a lot of errors are made, a lot of correctional keying takes place. So now you're adding to the time that is already a key part of the transaction flow. So the need to visualize the incoming mail is very important. So when your customers are looking for you to provide them with faster customer response, and we know now that any amount of time is really too long, then you need to speed everything up through the mailroom. Now, when it involves on a multi-channel and a cross-communication that is something coming from the customer, something coming from a supplier, regulator, or internal staff, now you have all of the different document types that are being sent and coming through all of those points of ingestion that I mentioned a few times here earlier. So what does the mailroom do at that stage? So it's recognizing, based on data on that document, it's performing that classification and extracting the data and validating the information against databases or validating against questions that may come up in that process as to mismatches in information, and then performing delivery. And performing that delivery to the database, repository, line of business applications, and direct to business areas and departments, be it sales, HR, customer service, or your contract department, so that the proper responses are going back to those same points of origination, your customers, suppliers, regulators, and staff. So what we see that in a mailroom of a medium, large-sized business is that they're sorting, classifying, extracting data, and distributing to the tune of about 16,000 documents per day. And these are communications of the varying types that I mentioned in the last slide, and have typically started with somewhere around in the 30s of their full-time data entry people. That's what FTE is referring to, full-time entry, full-time data entry. So they're sorting in the mailroom, and then distributing, performing data extraction on those, because this is where a process is semi-automated at that point, where data entry is being performed into a software system based on data that's extracted. They may have scanned the document, but they're entering data off of the document. So that is really, really taking it from, and if you'll look at the right of the screen, so your preparation, you have 23 people in the preparation process, 11 in the data entry, and 2 routing and distributing the information. Where in a mailroom situation with FlexiCapture for mailrooms, you have 7 preparing the data, 4 classifying and entering, and that's really a verification process versus a true data entry process, and then routing and distributing the documents for a total of 11 people. So, does it surprise anyone attending here that the ROI is 12 months or less? Okay. But we also see that now you have an uptick in customer satisfaction versus an over 5% of customer dissatisfaction that usually happens in a manual system, and you have the accuracy that goes along with it by utilizing FlexiCapture and FlexiCapture for mailrooms. So you have then that electronic distribution taking place, and audit trail and compliance capabilities provided that you now do not have to worry about on a manual level. So you may have another that has even larger in the remoteness of this enterprise, 200 subsidiaries or agencies. I guess you can pretty much guess that we're looking at an insurance scenario here, and that all of the areas, the remote areas, decentralized, are sending physical mail to the customer, to the HQ for that processing. So their shipping costs, $31 a day, based on each subsidiary alone, and then $11,000 or greater than $11,000 actually annually in just shipping costs alone. So on top of 25 clerical staff that's keying in the documents, they're trying to get through 40,000 pages into the system. So a reduction in that is very key, just as in the earlier scenario. So what does the distribution look like? Well, it's all centralized with ABBYY FlexiCapture for mailrooms, no matter if you're batching in the mailroom or actually scanning and ingesting from a remote site. So not everything has to go to your mailroom. It can go directly to ABBYY FlexiCapture for mailrooms, so that where the engagement happens, that could even be based on a mobile phone, capturing the document. Is in ABBYY terms, the mobile phone is a capture device, or a scanner, if you will, and sending that information direct to FlexiCapture for mailrooms. So the architecture basically is, no matter where that office is located, as in the case of that insurance company, it's being sent through the web and bypassing or accessing firewalls, and then into the corporate infrastructure, where we have our application server, classification server, database and processing server that are all part of FlexiCapture and in a distributed version with FlexiCapture for mailrooms. So then you have your different business areas being provided with that information, and as part of the line of business applications that have been employed for the processing of data within your organization. So you'll see that all the mail, having gone to a static location, but the staff is working remotely, is now flowing in each of these ingestion points and flows to the back-end system or line of business. And that allows that we've improved upon the difficulties of managing, auditing, and archiving all these different formats that are existing out in those remote locations. So now we have compliance and we have faster response times to your market. So what that looks like is email import or a scanning process with the visual classification, the validation, the content classification, and then cataloging from where the type of document going to the right business area, whether it's account opening, customer service request, maybe it's to a complaint going to customer service or contracts, and flowing that information quickly there. It also allows for the monitoring of the email boxes, email inboxes for attachments, those that have multiple attachments, the structure on an email, the content of the email, and processing the attachment. So email classification can look, as you see here on the screen, as to vital information that's part of that email body. Looking for multiple topics so that there's flow to the right business areas, customer service, contracts, based on reference in the email. And then allowing for that downstream business process to take place because of the routing that is happening. It also can be based on the document content within that particular document or document type. So an insurance claim could be that they're canceling a contract, or it may be that it falls into a different category and it's a form, and now you're needing to extract that data further down the line, and so the know-how is applied through FlexiCapture for Mailroom. Hierarchies are invoked, as well as training on different document types to enhance the process, as Scott will refer to in his demo. You can also combine classification utilizing key methods that are on the electronic separators that I mentioned, or utilizing barcodes on the document. You can use different classification schemes on the scan document. Also based on, just as you saw in the email, based on the classification types, content within the emails, and other documents that are difficult to classify. Quickly seeing that you'll get back statistics and monitoring based on what is in the document, and crystal reports, different type of monitoring tools, SQL reporting from the classification process in FlexiCapture for Mailroom. So, in summary, what you have is a quicker decision-making process, enhanced customer satisfaction, your cost reduction that leads to ROI, visibility into the process, transparency, as I referred to earlier, and then productivity. But also, if you're in a compliance-laden organization, this will give you that visibility and within compliance. There's also smart classification that manages taxonomies and allows for single precision within F measures, if that type of measurement is used, and to base it on modeling of different document types. So I will turn it over to Scott and to talk about FlexiCapture for Mailrooms and provide you with the demo. All right. Scott Chow.
Thank you. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, I want to make sure everyone can see my screen. This is basically FlexiCapture for Mailroom, and this is a virtual machine that I'm running through. So basically, FlexiCapture for Mailroom is a module. It's basically part of FlexiCapture, just like for invoices, it's a module. For Mailroom, it's a module. ABM, it's a module. Flexi Layout, it's a module. So all the features you have in FlexiCapture are included, and then you just add this additional module to run what you want. In this case, this is a Mailroom solution. This is actually will be more of a classifier type of thing. So what I'll do is I'll cover the various type of classifier they have, and then I'll show you how it sort of works with FlexiCapture. Okay, so basically FlexiCapture classification comes with a couple of things here. You can see there's an ID designer, there's a cluster designer, and a classification designer. Easiest option to do is to first go into clustering designer. This is basically a simple auto clustering. So what it'll do is you tell it the images, it'll load them in, and it'll automatically try to classify what it should be. And the way it does that, it's going to look at the way the words are at, the way the form's designed. It's going to be very simple, but it's a good, nice demo that you can show your customers and say, okay, let's see what kind of classification we can get here. Okay, so I have a training set of banking, contracts, ID cards, invoices, and letters already pre-made. I'll just click OK here, and all you need to do is click Start. There isn't really too much to do with this. It'll load the images in, and then it'll cluster them. So roughly about 45 images. It's going to cluster them to roughly about, let's see when it's done, roughly about, I think 40 or so here. So basically it's saying of those 45 images, we can classify them as 40 different types. This probably isn't true in most cases, but this is a simple classification that you can just run your images to see how much you can get right. Okay. From there, you can actually switch over to the classification designer and actually better improve the classification if you want. But for right now, let's look at what we have here. You can see over here, biotech is separate from this cluster 39, which is more of a starlight imaging. And it's probably classifying it differently because of the logo up here and the various words over here. So it's not doing a full text OCR. It's more looking at how the form looks different. So a logo might be different here. There might be more of a paragraph over here versus something else. It's a very quick classification type that it uses. Okay, so it's just doing a quick OCR on the page and seeing how it sort of looks. So for example, you can see over here a ID card or a passport, I think, or this over here, same thing. They're just different little designs to it, and so it's classifying it differently. Okay, so this is something you use to run on your images to see how many different clusters you have. In most cases, what you're going to be doing is probably going to be using this, this classification designer here. And what you have here is I have it somewhere loaded already, but what you do is you just basically load the images in and create your classes. So for example, you go over here and add a document type. I have contracts over here. I have letters. I can add various other document types in here if I want. Okay. Once you're done, all you're basically doing is train the project. It will usually train the project, and then it will say, okay, so these should be contracts, these should be letters, and I'll run these. Okay. So it's already been trained. That's why you can see over here it says it's letters, and over here it's contracts. Okay. Let's say, for example, we want to run to make sure it confirms it as that. So I can over here and it's classified. By classified, it says it's contracts. So it actually does know that. And it's 98% confident it is. If you look on this right-hand side, you can see that's 98% confident that's a contract, and the other percentage is it might think it's a letter. Okay. The reason for this is you can actually have different options here. Let me see if I can go over here. You can use this for visual and content classifiers. So visual was basically what we saw in the beginning, where it looks at the layout of the document. You can go further and say use content. Content actually would do the full text OCR, and from there it'll decide what it was. Okay. So if I go over here and click on highlights character features, it was these little keywords that it thought it was a contract. So that's highlighted. If you wanted to modify these words or make one a little stronger than the other, there is an option over here, and you can just add different variations to these text rules if you want. and how you want to provide it and stuff like that. Okay, so that's just basically it. You add the different document types, and then from there you can set up different things. So for contracts, I can say it's for visual or not visual, use it for content. Once you have all these little variations in here, run the match. Once you're done, you run the classifiers to see what it saw. So for example, I can just run these over here and this is classified. It sees these are all contracts, and if I look at the various little highlights features here, you can see this is the word stuff I was using. So over here, these are the words there. If I go letters, let me see what happens here. Classify. Same thing here. So various little variations in it. So letters, it knows if you use the word deer, it's most likely going to be a letter. Over here, I don't see any words here. I think it might be classify. There we go. So same thing here, use the word deer. So certain keywords it knows based on all the documents you put in here. Okay. The idea of this product is supposed to be a simple thing where basically a user can drop images in here, run the classifiers, and then adjust it if they need to. Okay. And unlike you having to be a FlexiCapture administrator, you don't need to go into the actual FlexiCapture to run anything. All you do is you set whatever parameters here and you save it. And from there, FlexiCapture will actually get these settings. It's actually pretty smart where it's set up so that you actually don't have to dig too deep into FlexiCapture to do this. Okay. So the way it's integrated into FlexiCapture, now that I showed you this part, is basically it uses web services. Okay. So let's say, for example, I will go over to my stations and I will scan my documents in. I'll click scan. It's actually pulling images from this sample folder here for me. And it's actually assembling these automatically for me. So there's about 45 different documents here. Okay. And all I need to do is send it to FlexiCapture. Okay. So it's sent to FlexiCapture. If I look over here in task now, you can see it's processing the images. So we'll let it process the images. And this is now all on FlexiCapture side. The way this sort of works is that there's actually an additional workflow that when images come in, it actually will send it to the classifier, and the classifier will detect what type of documents it has based on that project you created here. So is it a letter, is it a contract, could it be something else, okay? And it just identifies the documents. If you want to go a step further, you can use the FlexiCapture features and capture additional information. So you can say, you know what, now that I know this is a contract, I'm going to extract more information. Since this is going to take a while, I'm just going to show you what the end result will sort of look like, okay? So, so after it's been assembled and recognized, what the actual classifier does is it actually creates these little properties over here that says, okay, this is a banking document, okay? This over here is a banking document. Let's go back over here. This is an invoice, okay? If I go in here, you can actually see that, you know, as soon as this document gets clicked on, it's taking longer than it should be. But basically there we go. So there's a drop-down menu here that basically it can extract whatever it wants here. This isn't part of the classifier. This part is actually FlexiCapture. So what we did here is based on the rule is based on what the classifier set the classification as, go ahead and set this document type here for us. So all the classifier does is set what the document type is. From there, we can do anything else you want. So if you wanted to, you can extract the first name over here. Let me see. The first name, the last name, the state, whatever you want here, based on the classification value. So the idea here is, if you look at this project properties, we actually, after our recognition, there's a classification stage. And all this classification stage does is, it sends it to the classification project, and then it runs the classification project you have. It classifies as something, and based off of that, we will give it a result you want here. So it's pretty simple for the user because once you set it up, all they need to do is if they get a new document that comes in, they just need to open up their project, set the new document type. So for example, I will set up invoices. And then all you need to do is load your images in here. and then run the classification here. And it will start identifying different things. All you need to do now is set the new document type. So in this case, we have an invoice here. I think I have an invoice somewhere around here. So here's an invoice that we have ahead of time. Okay, that's pretty much it from a high-level view of the classification or the FlexCapture for Mailroom. It's basically one part of a module for FlexCapture that you can actually expand on by capturing more stuff if you want once it's classified the information. Okay. Are there any questions? Okay.
I just went ahead and unmuted everyone. If you have any questions, go right ahead. Okay, I think that's it. Scott, do you have anything else that you wanted to add, or are you good?
No, that's it for the classification. If they wanted to cover anything else, I could cover that too, but that's it from Mailroom.
And thank you, Scott. Thank you very much. And if anyone does have any questions, as you may need some time to think about your own personal or your own issues as it pertains to your company, some of the pain points around your processing today, feel free, reach out to Information Management Services, let them know, and they'll certainly get in contact with us. If at any point that you need with the help of IMS to see these demos further, Abby is more than happy always to assist IMS in providing that information to you. So on behalf of Scott and myself at Abby Software, I really thank everyone for their attention here today. Thank you for attending, and thanks very much to Information Management Services. Olivia, thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Thanks, Craig and Scott. Go ahead.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, have a great day.